Okay, today I want to show you in Minitab how to create a histogram when we're using quantitative data. And so the data set I want to use is precipitation.mtw, which is in the sample data folder. And the data is collected from an aspiring junior meteorologist who collected data about her hometown weather over the course of a year. The values indicate the number of days per month with significant precipitation. Okay, so she did not get started on the project till after January, so there's no observation in January. And so our research problem is going to be describe the number of days in a month with precipitation using a histogram. Okay, so I'm going to go to Minitab. To get to the sample data library, we're going to go to File, open a worksheet. We're going to use this option, look in the Minitab sample data folder. I'm going to start typing precipitation and you'll see it comes up. And I'll say open. So a few things I want to point out. First of all, since January, the first month, didn't have any data, Minitab uses a star for quantitative data to indicate a missing value. Okay? So now we have 12 values and we want to do a histogram. So our histograms are under graph. We're going to go down to histogram. The first dialog box, which I have on your handout as well, we want to use the simple one. There's no reason to use anything but the simple one in Minitab. So I'm going to just go ahead and say OK. When it comes to this, the graph variable has to be quantitative, and so I'm going to move or select precipitation. Once again, you can single click it and hit the select button, or you can double click it and it moves it over into this box. If there's nothing in this box, it doesn't know what to graph. Once again, there are 5 buttons we can play with. The only button that I think you might use is the scale button. And so in the scale button, which is also in your handout, I think the one tab you'd want to use is the Y scale. I am going to point out though that if you want your histogram to go up and down vertical, you can transpose the Y and the X, but typically we think about a histogram as having a number line, and a number line typically goes horizontal. So under Y scale is where we can change it from either a frequency, which is count, or percentages, just like we could for our bar chart. And so I'm going to leave it frequency because, once again, that's something we can change after the chart is created. So I'm going to say OK. The labels button is similar to what you've seen in other graphs. Titles and footnotes, once again, typically can be done after the fact. Data view asks us what type of bars we want. We're going to leave them as bars. And we don't need a distribution or smoother in our course. Multiple graphs we'll get to a little bit later when we start talking about relationships. And data options, this is where for a bar chart and a pie chart, we went here to get rid of missing data. In this case, quantitative data, when it's missing, has no place to go on a number line. So it's not as important here until we get to relationships. So I'm going to remind you it's here, but we don't really need to worry about it at this point in time. So even though I have that one missing value over here, I don't have to worry about removing it. Okay, because it's quantitative data. It's really only concerned about categorical data. All right? So as simple as that is, we're going to say OK, and we create this histogram. Once again, for us, you would like to have a good title on this. So this is Days of Precipitation in Days of precipitation per month in my hometown, or her hometown. Okay. Once again, I don't have to worry about frequency. Here, down here, precipitation is pretty good, but it's not the best descriptor, and so I'm going to say number of days of precipitation per month. Okay. Number of days gives me my unit. And so we've got our graph. This is a basic graph. It works quite well. Once again, if you wanted to change this from frequency to percentages, you could edit the Y scale and go back up to type, and you can change it to percent. Okay. Notice the scale doesn't change, right? We saw that with the bar chart as well. Now, one thing we should pay attention to is kind of notice that the end point here, or the center point, is 2. If you want to see what the actual bin range is, you see it's from 1.5 to 2.5. And here you see it's 2.5 to 3.5, and so on. So this bin range ends at 2.5, and this one starts at 2.5. If we had had a value that was exactly 2.5, which bar would it go into? We still have to use those ideas of mutually exclusive and mutually exhaustive. So it has to go into only one of these bars. And the rule is that values on the border go into the bar to the right. Okay? So if it was a 2.5 value, it would be in this bar. If it was a 1.5 value, it would be in this bar, and so on. All right? So I'm going to send this to my Word document, and we're good.